Hello and welcome back to Bible Wits Bible Corner. Today we're going to finish up Acts chapter 5. I'm going to read verses 36 through 42, starting with the English Standard Version. For before these days, Theudas rose up, claiming to be somebody, and a number of men, about 400, joined him. He was killed, and all who followed him were dispersed, and it came to nothing. After him, Judas the Galilean rose up in the days of the census and drew away some of the people after him. He too perished, and all who followed him were scattered. So in the present case, I tell you, keep away from these men and let them alone. For if this plan or this undertaking is of man, it will fail. But if it is of God, you will not be able to overthrow them. You might even be found opposing God. So they took his advice. And when they had called the apostles, they beat them and charged them not to speak in the name of Jesus, and let them go. Then they left the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer dishonor for the name. And every day in the temple and from house to house, they did not cease teaching and preaching that the Christ is Jesus. New Century Version. Remember when Theudas appeared? He said he was a great man, and about 400 men joined him. But he was killed, and all his followers were scattered. They were able to do nothing. Later, a man named Judas came from Galilee. At the time of the registration, he also led a group of followers and was killed, and all of his followers were scattered. And so now I tell you, stay away from these men and leave them alone. If their plan comes from human authority, it will fail. But if it comes from God, you will not be able to stop them. You might even be fighting against God himself. The leaders agreed with what Gamaliel said. They called the apostles in, beat them, and told them not to speak in the name of Jesus again. Then they let them go free. The apostles left the meeting full of joy because they were given the honor of suffering disgrace for Jesus. Every day in the temple and in people's homes, they continued teaching the people and telling the good news that Jesus is the Christ. Okay, so we have this important leader, Gamaliel, giving a small history lesson about some previous people who claimed to be of high importance. However, when they perished, when they died, their followers scattered because they had no real power. So, Gamaliel is saying, hey, do not do anything to these men, because if they are following a man's teaching, they will soon be able to do nothing. They will soon just disperse and go about their lives as before. But if their plan is from God, if their teaching is from God, there's nothing that's going to stop it. Okay, there is a lot of truth to that, as we see today how much the church has grown from then to now. God's plan will not be stopped. God's plan will continue. Now, the other thing I want to bring up here is they rejoiced because they were beaten. Okay, were they rejoicing because of the beating, or were they rejoicing because they were told that they would suffer in the name of Jesus? And I think it's the latter. They were told they would suffer in the name of Jesus. So this is They've been mocked, they've been ridiculed, now they've been beaten. And yet they know that Jesus is still in control. That's why they're rejoicing. Jesus is still in control of what is going on. So they're still teaching in the temples, they're still teaching in the homes. The church is still growing. It is still very young at this point, but it is still growing. Again, I've said it in previous videos, depending on what country you're in will determine what kind of punishment you get for being a Christian in today's world. Consider joy when being persecuted. I'm not saying be happy that you're being persecuted. Be happy that you are still serving God and knowing that God is in control. So I hope you find encouragement in this, and I hope you have a wonderful, God-centered day. Bye.